for 10 years. He's going to be sharing with us this thing called quantum creative process. So let's welcome Darryl Reeves. Hey, Darryl, how you doing?
Hey, Tina. Hi there in LA, and Sawadee Cup from Thailand. It's great to be talking with you.
Nice to talk to you. Well, guys, by the way, just in case you're not aware, I was born in Thailand, and I live in Los Angeles for quite some time now. But Darryl reached out to me from Bangkok. This is interesting. I got some listeners from across the world and from where I was born. And you know what? Put the comment where you are watching from. I would love to find out. All right, guys. So let's get going here. Let's dive down here. What you have to share.
Yeah. Well, look. All my life, Tina, I've been a communicator, and I'm in my sixth decade now, and so I've had a bit of life experience. I've made plenty of mistakes. I've had my share of successes as well, or maybe not my share, because I think I've still got a few successes to come. And I've learned, among other things, how the creative process works, and I've simplified it down because part of my mission in life, my destiny, my calling, whatever your terminology happens to be, is that I feel like I need to give back the things that I've learned and simplify them for people. And so this quantum creative process, it's known by many, many names. And as we were discussing off the call earlier, I think many of the great religions, the great philosophies, even science and quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all these things are kind of slowly moving to a central position where we're acknowledging that we actually share a lot of things in common. And although we live in a world today where there's a lot of political fighting going on and a lot of angst, on various social platforms like Twitter, etc., and others, I think it's important that for those of us that are awakened, enlightened, born again, whatever your term again happens to be, I'm not fussy about that as long as I understand what you mean. Then I think we need to really focus on the commonalities, and we need to work together as a species, because our ultimate future as a species depends on it, the future of our children and their children and future generations and the well-being of our planet and things. And I know that you're a very awake person, and I've listened to a number of your podcasts and interviews with various people, and I understand that you understand the creative process in many ways. We might not necessarily go about it quite the same, and that's perfectly normal, because hey, we're not the same. Have you noticed? You and me, we don't look the same. We're not the same gender. We don't have the same chromosomes, whatever gender preference we might tell the world we have. At the end of the day, you can't change your chromosomes. So you are what you are, and how you came here on this planet is pretty much on many levels how you'll leave it. And so it's what you do in between that makes the difference. And so sharing this creative process, I could share it from a scientific point of view a little bit. I could share it from a metaphysical point of view. I could certainly share it from a religious point of view, because I've had a history in my religion growing up as a kid was the Christian religion. And as a kid, I was known as a PK. Do you know what a PK is, Tina?
No, I'm not sure what it is.
It's a preacher's kid. A preacher's kid.
There you go.
So my dad was a preacher, and all my life that I can remember anyway, he was a Christian preacher, an interdenominational one. He traveled around a lot of all the different churches, and he wasn't committed to any particular one, but he was sort of an interdenominational person. And so, I got dragged around as a kid to all the different types of churches and the points of view and so on. And I grew up as a Christian, and I spent a few decades of my own life serving in that role as well. But these days I'm in business, and well, I'm actually here in Thailand, taking it pretty easy, to be honest. But I have a business back in Australia. It's an online e-commerce shopping platform. But I have learned how this quantum process works, and the quantum field process that can come together and crystallize into things we call in day-to-day living our experience. And long before science was ever even a thing, before the word science, no matter what language you use, was ever used and people understood it, sages and prophets of old were teaching that things, 3D things, material things, you know, like my pen, come from the heart. You know, I grew up in the Christian culture, as I mentioned, and you know, Christ said that a man brings forth things out of his heart. And I've often mused on that, and I thought, well, how do things come out of my heart? You know, I don't know how well you can see my background. It's a little bit bright out there, but I live on the 12th floor of a condominium in a little seaside town called Jomtien. It's actually a couple of hours south of Bangkok. Closest big place would be Pattaya. And I'm 12 floors up in this condominium, but this condominium that I'm in right now was once just an idea. Before it was ever this condominium, it was an idea. And you know what? One person has an idea. It only becomes a shared idea when I transmit that idea to another human being, and then another and another and another. And in the case of this condo, as a great little illustration on the process that everything, this is a thing, starts as an idea. The condo started as an idea. Somebody thought, I'm going to build a condo. There's a lot of money in condos. Maybe that was the motivation. Or I want to leave a legacy for my children, you know, and that would be great for them to own a condo. There's all kinds of rationale and reasons and emotions attached to why ideas begin to form and stick. Because, you know, I don't know if you're like me, Tina, but I get all these random ideas, you know, like a mile a minute. And you know, our brains think so much faster than our mouths can move. So we've got more ideas going on there. And even while I'm talking and you're, you know, quiet at the moment, you've got ideas going through your mind about things you could, you know, I can pick up on that, or I could say, make a comment to that, or people will be getting something out of that, or somebody might not like that. You know, you've got all these ideas going through your brain all the time, but that doesn't mean they're all good. And it doesn't mean you'll latch on to any of them, but somebody latched onto the idea of this condo. And that's why it's here today, because as I share this quantum creative process with your listeners, they're going to realize that, wow, you know, my experience today, as harsh as this may sound, Tina, my experience today is the result of an idea or sum of ideas that I've had over the time of my life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So things start as ideas, and when we spiritually wake up, we metaphysically wake up, you know, we wake up to life, we're born again, whatever your terminology happens to be, I'm not fussy, as long as you get what I'm talking about, then you're going to understand something that's going to help you in your life. Now, I like to simplify things, and I've done literally thousands of hours of public talks around the world, across about 4 continents, and 12 or 15 or more different countries and hundreds of towns and villages. And I've been doing it since I was a teenager, traveling around the world. I first of all started volunteering for service abroad in the Pacific Islands, and I went around a lot of places, and I was often asked to speak, and I felt, here I am, I'm an 18-year-old kid. What do I know about life? But people were asking me because I think there was something in me that, was given to me that wasn't to stay with me. It was to go out for the benefit of others, as well as my own enjoyment. And so all my life, I've been sharing things that I know, and I try to share them as simply as possible. Like, if I was a school teacher, I'd be a kindergarten teacher. I'd be teaching people the very basics and helping them get started. And so I tend to, say what I'm going to say. I then tend to retell you what I'm going to say. But at the end of this exercise, our 40 odd minutes together, people are going to leave with something they absolutely know. And not only do they know it, because knowledge just makes you proud and arrogant, I found, but they're going to have practical tools to know what to do with what they know. Because you know what? Knowledge can't save us. It's not what you know that sets you free. I know a lot of people love to run around and quote what they think the Bible verse says, that, the truth will set you free. Well, for one thing, the truth won't set you free. And number two, the Bible doesn't even say that. The Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, knowing is a Greek word. When it's translated, it has a sense of intimacy to it. When you know something intellectually is one thing. You can go to school and learn how to drive a car at school. But you know what? You can come out with a degree in how to drive a car and not be able to drive a car if you've never actually driven a car. Do you know what I mean?
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So experience is what we need. That gives us that knowing, that real life knowing. And you have an experience. It might be physical, it might be mental, it might be emotional, it might be spiritual. It can be all kinds of things, but certain things. I know in your life, you've done enough living to know certain things, and you are an expert in some of those things that you know, because you speak from experience. And there's many people with arguments. They've got the intellectual knowledge, but they don't have the experience. There was a guy in the time of Jesus Christ when he was walking around in the streets of Nazareth, and he was healing some people. And this blind guy that he healed, he actually healed on the Sabbath day, which was a holy special day for the Jews. And the Pharisees, who were the Jewish leaders at the time, said to him, "What in the world are you doing, working on the Sabbath day, getting healed on the Sabbath day?" He said, "Man, I don't know what's important about the Sabbath day. All I know is once I was blind, and now I can see." I don't give two pennies about your beliefs if they don't translate to experience that actually works. They're just theories, they're just ideas, they're just philosophies, they're just stuff that makes you proud and arrogant and not loving. But when you've got experience, you can be compassionate. Now, I know you shared recently how you went through a desperately terrible COVID experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that gave you an experience that enables you, better than so many people that have had COVID, even because of the depths of where you had to go, it gave you an experience that nobody with an argument can take that away from you. Right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because someone with an experience is never at the mercy of someone with an argument.
Exactly.
The Pharisees that wanted to stand on their religious high horse and rabbit on about the importance of the Sabbath, well, quite frankly, the blind man didn't give a toss, because now he could see. It changed his whole world.
Right, exactly.
And at the end of the day, and even at the end of this session together, Tina, people can, message and say, well, there's bits I didn't agree about that, but, and that's fine. Help me perfect what I understand and help me understand my theories. But from an experience point of view, to the degree that I've had the experience of knowing that my thoughts, when they translate into my feelings and become my emotional experience, they will ultimately manifest in my 3D world, practical, everyday living experience. And so that's exactly how it happened with this condo. I know I went the long way around this story, and I love to tell stories because they illustrate points, and people remember stories long after they forget the A, B, C, through. What were those 10 things he told me to do? I don't want to tell you 10 things to do. I want to give you a story that you can remember. This condo started as an idea, and that idea grew into a feeling, to the point that the person that had the idea started to share it with some people. Maybe they shared it with a financier who they were friendly with and say, listen, I'm thinking about building this, $20 million condo, but I've only got 5 million or 10 million. And his banker says, well, look, you're good for the money. We'll fund that development, and we'll help you out. So if you want to do it, go and get a feasibility study done and do your homework and find out if it's really what you want to do. So he goes away and he starts talking to an architect, and he starts talking to some marketers, and he starts talking to some builders, and he starts to formulate a rough plan, still in his mind largely, but it's dropping down. As my father used to tell me as a kid, he said, Darryl, unless something drops 18 inches from your brain to your heart, it'll never show up in your experience. Wow. There's a powerful
So basically,
right there, right?
Yeah, basically what you just shared, Darryl, I gather that in order for us to be successfully getting what we want to accomplish, it's got to start with the idea and then just got to feel it.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So have you ever heard the talking of what is Esther Hicks?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Esther Hicks. She channel information. Abraham Hicks. Have you heard of her?
Oh, tell me about it.
Okay, never mind then, because she's sort of sharing something that's similar like that, manifests something.
Okay.
So let's go on. I don't mean to interrupt you with that,
No,
but
it's
just
not a
kind
problem
of
at all.
similar concept.
No, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
So as we muse on an idea, and let's stick with the condo illustration because it's a kind of a good one. It's not easy to bank a condo. It's not like you just have an idea today and whoops, tomorrow you've got a condo. It's not like going on a picnic. It's a great day out there when you wake up in the morning. Let's go and have a picnic. Well, that doesn't take a lot of development. But I'm talking about something more complex because it'll give you the idea, but it can be squashed up into short ideas as well, and little ideas that can happen today, like going on a picnic, But this condo, so he started to do his homework, started to do some feasibility studies, and he realized, wow, there's some serious money to be made in this project, and there's a piece of land available right in an ideal location, and I've done the foot traffic studies. I know what the tourism market's like, and blah blah blah. And he does all the rationale, okay, to satisfy your mind, but also to build believability, which is something that's beyond the mind. It drops into your heart. You can believe in your mind, but it won't give you staying power. But when you believe in your heart, then that'll give you staying power. There's a great public speaker around called Simon Sinek. You may have heard of him, and he's got a number of talks out about the importance of why you do something, not what you do, why you do what you do. And when you understand the why, then it builds belief in you. Why are you doing these podcasts? Why? Then that why will see you through the tough times, because you'll have some great times and you'll have some not so great times. You'll have some amazing times and you'll have some trying times, because that's the nature of life. It's yin yang, you know, it's dark and light, it's shadow and brightness. It's just how it works. It's back and front. It's down and up and all those other metaphors. So you've got to understand the why you do things. And that's where this creative process comes from, an idea down into the heart. And then when it comes into the heart, you know what? That's not enough. You got to do more than that. The creative process goes yet another step. It goes down into actions that are synchronous or harmonious or in line with what it is you're starting to feel in your heart. So, you know, there's another way I can put this, and perhaps I'll put it into maybe a kind of religious context or a philosophical context, if you like. Now, if you're not a theist, if you're an atheist listening in here, hey, I've got a way to put it for you in a minute. So hang on, just all right. I'm just helping the people that are theists, that believe in the spiritual side of their life. They believe in God. You know, I happen to be one of those, but I've got atheist friends, many of them. I love atheists. You know, you don't have to be a theist to be in my good books. And you don't have to be an atheist to be in my good books. You don't have to be anything to be in my good books, except, you know, we just want to get along and we do things that help us get along. That's, I think, the big key. I'm a human being, you're a human being. What you believe is all on top of that. So if you're a God follower kind of person, you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Hindu, Shinto, whatever you are, okay? So it works like this. There's God, who is a spirit, not a tangible God. Nobody's seen God. God is spirit. Just like, you know, God is like love. Nobody's seen love, but everybody knows what love is. Nobody's seen trust. Nobody's seen hatred.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody knows what they are. Everybody. Okay. So nobody's seen God, but there's God, and God for the believer is inside all of us. In fact, you know, the Christian viewpoint is this, that in God we live and move and have our existence. We are in God and God is in us. There's not separation, there's only oneness when you're really awake. Right. When you, as Christ put it, you know, when you're born again, or as the, you know, the more new age kind of nuanced people put it, you know, you've got to be awake. You know, you're an awakened person. Well, yeah, that's important. We need to be awake. Otherwise, we're living in the dark and we're not really taking the best advantage of the creative process for ourselves. And so a lot of people are having success by accident. You know?
Is that crazy?
That was lucky, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. And so we use words like, wow, that was lucky, wasn't it? Right?
Well, that's what we said, but I don't think that's luck, though. I think that's taking a lot of work as well.
Yeah. So
it just happened to happen the right timing, or the right, like what you just said, idea comes, and then, you know, they feel it and they take action and do it. So exactly. People will see it's luck.
That's exactly right. And look, you know, when you understand the process, then it's not luck anymore. You know, I don't know if you've ever been to a magic show. You're in LA, you're only down the road from Las Vegas, so I'm
Absolutely,
sure you've been to a few magic shows, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a magic show, it's awe-inspiring, it's exciting, and you go, whoa, wow, you know, and to you, it's magic. But you know what? To the magician, it ain't magic. That right, magician knows exactly how that trick happened. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's pure science for the magician.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
There is no magic for the magician.
Well, because he knows
So
what he's doing. He created that.
yeah, he created that. It was his
Right.
idea, unless he learned that trick from another magician who showed him. Usually magicians don't share their tricks. But, you know, as my mum used to say to me, Darryl, spread the table, not the recipe. But so look, what I'm sharing today with your listeners is how to do the tricks,
Mm,
how to stop having success by just being lucky and having it on purpose.
mhm.
Now, listen, there are things beyond our control, because even when we're efficient at the quantum creative process, there are still outside influences at work. So we are not, even though we live in God, we move in God, God's in us, we, you know, have God's thoughts. Sometimes we get inspiration from God. This is the process, and it leads to, you know, building feelings that go through our physical being and drive us to do actions, which is the 3-step creative process, by the way, in a nutshell. And, you know, I told you I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I told you. So, you know, I'm a very simple teacher and explainer of things, but the creative process, I've given it to you already, but I haven't finished talking about it. Give me a nod when, you know, when we're done, because I'm not watching my clock, and I hope you are, for both of us. But you won't bother me if you just, okay, that's great, let's wrap it up. I can do that. Okay.
Right.
But the creative process is this: you think it, you
I just
feel it,
want
you
I
do
just
it.
want, yeah, I just want the listener receive something important from this quantum creative process when they listen to you, and what they
Yeah,
can get out to benefit them. Yes.
me too,
Sorry for
Tina. That's
interrupting you.
exactly it. So when you've got an idea, and it starts to vibrate in you, starts to resonate in you, you start to feel that's just more than a random idea, okay? Because we have a million ideas a minute. But when you've got an idea and it starts to gel a bit, you go, wow, I'd really like to have that, or to be that, or to do that, or to experience that. It moves from that way, and it's an idea that comes around more than once. Usually, you know, God speaks more than once. He might speak quietly, but he doesn't just, you know, speak once. And it might be someone comes into your life and they just say something to you, and it goes, wow, I was just thinking about that the other day. We've all had that experience, right? You know,
Mhm.
where we go, wow, someone was just talking to me about that the other day. You know, the believers will go, well, it must be God. Well, yeah, hello.
Well,
But the theists
synchronicity, that's
say,
what they
well,
call.
yeah,
Some call that synchronicity.
exactly. That's what it is, synchronicity. You know, and if you want it from a more scientific, atheistic point of view, well, it's synchronous, it's synchronicity, it's you can think of it that way, where there's everything is energy. We know that. I think I've even heard you say it, Tina, and
Right.
I've known that for years. Everything is energy, and so it makes sense that there's an attraction happening, and that somebody or some bodies would come into our world to confirm what it is that idea was about. You know, I'm sure you bought a car in your experience there in the USA. And when you get the idea to buy a car, and this has happened to anybody that's ever bought a new car, especially, or any car really, you get the idea to buy a car. And as you're moving around the town that you live in, it's funny how your eye is just naturally attracted to that brand, make, and model of car all of a sudden, whereas before you didn't notice them so much. But now you're in the market for, I don't know, a new Honda, a new Toyota, a new Tesla, or whatever it happens to be. All of a sudden you see them everywhere, right?
Correct.
Now, is that God? Is that synchronicity? Is that quantum, mechanics at work? Is it spirituality? Is it, some new age term that I haven't even heard yet? I've heard most of them. Well, it's all of those things. And so I think this is the thing that we have to tap into, Tina. What do you want to say?
What I was going to say is like everything's just aligned, you can just really, to me, I mean, I got what you're saying exactly, like what you said, everybody already knew about this. We just need a reminder. Like you're here to remind everyone that in order for us to like get to where we want to be successfully, we have to come with this idea and we feel it. And I like the question why, because that one was a good one, because most people don't ask that why. And before I started my YouTube, I did ask myself why, and I did feel it. It came with an idea, came with a light bulb. I felt it for some reason for the very first time, and I asked myself why I want to do this YouTube podcast. So I like that you brought it up, because most people don't get to do that. And it seems like everything seemed to align, because I'm sure a lot of people have gone through this process before, but there's a lot of things that go against it, you see?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if that thing go against it, that's probably not aligning what you're supposed to do right there, right? I mean, that's what I would assume.
Yeah, well, it can be that way. There's two things about that. You're absolutely right. When you're on the right track and you're in the right timing, because timing's important, not just the idea, right?
Yes.
You can have an idea, but you can have the wrong timing.
But how would one know if it's the right timing? Correct?
That is a brilliant question. And it's actually, I should maybe catch up with you on another occasion, because it's actually a longer, it's content in itself. It's a podcast in itself. How do I know the right timing? Because timing is everything, as the business world says. In business, that's what they say. Now, I'll answer your question very briefly, but trust me, it needs a dedicated session about timing, and I can help your listeners a lot with timing. But timing is everything. And making correct decisions depends upon the kind of person that you are. So some people, they respond to that gut feeling. You know what I'm saying? You've heard that term many times. Oh, it's a gut feeling. Follow your gut, right?
Yeah.
And there's other people that they want to do the research first. They're investigators. They want to delve down. They want to dot the I's and cross the T's. And, people that are gut feeling people go, oh, come on, get on with it, will you? I mean, can't you just know this is the thing to do?
Right, I agree with that.
Actually, no, they can't. Because they're not wired up to know things that way. And there's nothing wrong with dotting I's and crossing T's if you're wired up to do it that way. Now, you might be taught to do it that way, but be wired up to do it a different way. And so you live your life at cross purposes to yourself.
That's a good one, Darryl, because how would one know if they were, naturally wired that way, but were brought up differently?
I can give you the short answer once again, Tina, but again, it's if we talk about timing and how we know the timing, and we can devote a session to it, I'll go right into that. How you know your design, how you're wired up, and there's a whole understanding to be had around that. And I've spent actually years studying it, to be honest. And but in short, I'll give you the short answer. And again, it's everything everything I'm sharing here today. In your heart, everybody already knows it. That's why, you and everybody listening in, I'm sure, they're going like this.
Well, you have to feel
because
it.
You know why people go like this? They go like this because it's an autonomic reaction. It's a reaction of the body which is being triggered by the spirit or the inner you, if you like, and you're just going like that. That's why body language is 27 times more powerful than what you say.
It's true.
Because if you ask me, Darryl, would you like to go and, have some Thai food with, amazing amounts of chili that you've never tried before, I might go, yes, that sounds great.
I know some people who will be like, yes. And then they
Right.
suffer later on. Yeah, not
Yeah.
me. I would be going like this too.
Yeah. So I said that little illustration to make the point that inside each of us is the inner tutor for our lives. I'll give you a more modern word that you're very familiar with: intuition.
Yes, of course. Mhm.
Okay, so there's not a human being on the planet that doesn't have intuition. And the root of intuition is inner teacher.
You know, what I noticed that we all have this intuition, but oftentimes we have been influenced with our thinking a lot, bombarding with all this information that's overloaded since our childhood. So we've never been taught to really learn how to truly trust
Oh,
our
yeah.
intuition. And I feel also our mind has to be absolutely quiet in order to tap in and really connect to our intuition, and
Yeah.
and I think with my COVID illness got me to slow down
Yeah.
because I had to heal myself, got me slowed down. And that's how I was guided and really listened to myself to start my
Yeah.
YouTube. I don't know where it's gonna go. Yeah, I just know that I'm having fun at the moment, and I grew pretty fast, but I listen to intuition. Yeah, so you're right about that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll I'll have a time with you sometime offline, or off the podcast, and I'll share with you what I know about timing, and I will discover through a methodology that I've got what your ideal timing is. Okay, and I'll tell you things. I mean, we've had a couple of quick conversations. Basically, we really don't know each other that well. A little bit. We've got a feeling, and our
Yeah,
inner teacher tells us a lot about each other that is the important stuff. Okay.
correct.
But to fill in some of the blanks for our mind's sake, I can help you understand some things about this timing thing. And then if it resonates with you and you go, wow, you get the wow factor, which you will. Believe me, you will. Don't believe
Awesome.
me. Don't believe me at all. Just
I
have the
won't
experience for
until I
yourself.
experience it. Yes.
Exactly. Have the experience for yourself. And then if it's something you want to share with your audience, well, I invite you to do that. So this inner tutor inside us knows so much. It's actually a part of what Carl Jung used to refer to it as the unconscious. And he made a statement that's went like something like this: until we make our unconscious conscious, it
Mhm.
will direct our lives and we will call it fate.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I like him. I like his work.
Yeah. I like his work too.
Powerful. Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe there are ways we can begin, at least, and life's a journey. And I love people that know that, because if it's all about the destination for you or me or anyone else, I think we're on the wrong footing. It's not
Wrong.
about the destination.
And I think this is, I like what you just said, that it's not about the destiny, it's about the journey. Because most of us tend to forget that we're trying to get
Exactly.
somewhere.
So
And we forgot
yeah,
to
so
enjoy the journey. Yes.
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's a great journey for me, and I can tell, your journey, is great for you. So, you had an idea to do a podcast. You tuned into your gut feeling about it, and you acted on it. And that's probably, I haven't, checked you out thoroughly enough to know yet, but I can say it's probably the right thing for you. And and I'll give some nuances to you if there are any after we, talk again, offline about it. But a lot of people, that's exactly right for them. And what happens is their mind catches up over time with what is actually what's going on. And so, but for some people, their minds that are very clear very early on, and they get that sort of mental revelation quickly, and other people get it slowly. And again, it's just how we're wired up, how we're designed, how we came here to shine. And we shine best when we are our best.
That's right.
Yeah. And so a lot of people have been educated one way, and we've got this education system which is very sausage machine like. It doesn't cater for for everybody, really. Kids that are so-called, oh, he's the dumb kid in the class, or she's the dumb kid in the class. No, they're not dumb at all. They just are in the wrong place.
I agree. Totally agree with that.
Or sometimes as parents, I'm a parent, I've got 3 children, and I've done a lot of parent training seminars over my years. It used to be one of my specialties. I don't do it now, but I used to travel around, all around the country in New Zealand where I was born, and I do, parenting seminars for parents to help them with their kids, because a lot of parents, well, again, you don't learn how to be a parent in school. And if you don't have good parents, where the hell are you going to learn how to be a parent?
Most people don't know how to be a parent, really. We never have a good example how good parents should be, because, that's the way we have been programmed. That's a problem.
So we copy the way, so many people, isn't it?
Yeah, every parents copy the way how they were brought up by their own parents and by their own ancestor. So that's how we learned. And it's not always the right way.
Exactly. Well, as a parent, there is a lot of learning on the job.
True.
So it's not like you can go to university, learn how to be a parent, and then get it right. But it's like it's like learning to drive by going to school. Yeah, look, you can certainly learn some things. You can learn the road rules. You can learn the basic sort of intellectual understandings that you're going to need about the car. This round thing that's right in front of you. Yeah, that makes you turn corners, right? And those little pedals on the floor, they help you stop and start. And blah, blah, blah. So you got to learn some things, but at the end of the day, you've also got to have some experience, and hopefully in an environment where you can't cause any trouble, like in a shopping mall car park, after hours.
Right.
Yeah. And, luckily for a lot of young parents, they have people around them that have had a bit of experience, hopefully good experience, and they can be a good example. But there are many, many unfortunate children that don't get raised by good parents.
True.
And then there's many good parents and good children that get raised in a school that's not ideal for them. They shouldn't really, it's just not suited. It's the best we've got, and we've got to take the best we've got, but it could definitely be better.
Well, I feel like a lot of parents now are beginning to awaken to, how many of us grew up kind of damaged. Damaged goods, and many of us are awakening, and they all starting to learn how to be better parents, not following the same way they were brought up. So I have noticed that the big difference too, and a lot of people are awakening now, and changing the way they raise their children. But there's some that just kind of went a little bit because they wanted their kids to get what they never got when they were young. or they want their kids to experience what they never experienced when they were young. So maybe they put them into a kind of study that is not the kids' interest. It's what, because the parents want to have interest. I mean, what the parents have interest, so they want the kids to study that.
Yeah,
so I've seen
that's
that
right.
too. So but it took a while, for a different generation, for our parents to recognize that, awaken, and realize that they should allow the kids to shoot, or observe them when they're young, what they like to study, what they like to learn. And I think those kids, when they grew up, they probably be able to tap into this quantum creative process that you talk about a lot easier than this generation and then the older generation, right? Because I think a lot of people do want to be successful, and they do have an ideas like what you said, and some of them even feel in their heart like, oh, this is gonna work, this is gonna be great. But then they started their projects or do something, Darryl, but it just never come out to what they envision that's going to be successful, or it's going to come out the way they have envisioned.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
would you suggest a person to do that to get where they want to be?
Find a mentor.
Mhm.
Find a more experienced than you person in the field that you're interested in. Steve Jobs made a great quote one time that I wrote down, and he said, "You can't build a great business without a great team."
It's true. And they let their team, each individual, to do what they're good at.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
right. And so I've found in my life that people have spoken into my life at very significant times. I remember many years ago, I listened to an American motivational speaker. He's passed away now, or passed over, on, whatever. His name was Charlie Tremendous Jones. You can look him up. He's got some YouTube videos. They're old, but the truths are great. And he said to me when I went to meet him one time, he said, Darryl, and it was a favorite quote of his I heard in many of his talks that he gave. He said, Darryl, 5 years from now, and this is before the internet, Tina, so keep this in mind. 5 years from now, you'll be exactly the same as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. So today, perhaps kids don't read so many books because they look at stuff online or they listen to podcasts and so on. But, it's the same kind of thing in a different format, ebooks and what have you. And people you meet. People we meet change our lives. And
Sure.
books we read or information we expose ourselves to changes our lives. So for those people that have tried and failed, first thing I want to say to them is congratulations, you've passed step one.
Experience.
Because
Right?
don't feel bad, because there's not a success on the planet, not one, who's over 20 or 30 years of age who hasn't failed more than once. Not one.
Mhm.
And the greatest successes, frequently, if you read their biographies, fail the most. Abraham Lincoln, one of your classically great presidents of the United States, he went bankrupt a couple of times. He tried to commit suicide a few times. He had failed businesses, failed relationships. He ran for Senate many times and lost. I forget how many times it was, but it was multiple times he tried for elected office, multiple times before he ever became president. Colonel Sanders, who started the great KFC brand, love it or hate it, he didn't start that brand till he was more than 60 years of age, and he had failed many times, many times. Walt Disney had been bankrupt multiple times before Disneyland ever became a success. Ray Kroc, who was the guy that made McDonald's something. The failures in his life were amazing. I mean, bring it into the modern era today and read about or listen to Elon Musk's story. 2 years being a week away from bankruptcy. 2 years living with a week away from bankruptcy, and now he's the richest guy on the planet, in monetary terms, which might mean something to some people.
Of course, some people, that's very important too, because we're still living on this earth, and in a way, I mean, yeah, we can say that money is not everything, but we still do need to have some,
Yeah,
to
look,
pay
like the
bills.
man, Tina, that said money isn't everything, but it's up there with oxygen.
Yeah, it's true. And everybody does things just for money to make a living. That's what it is too. But it's just not to focus so much, and this is the only focus. I think that's what makes a big difference, that you don't step all over other people, or you don't corrupt other people, or being dishonest just to make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, look, a lot of religious type people love to quote that verse. Oh, but money's the root of all evil. Well, again, that's a misquotation of scripture, because if you go and search it out in the Bible, it actually says, it never says that. It doesn't say that anywhere in any Bible, right, that money is the root of all evil. What it does say is the love of money is the root of all evil. So, that's where the root is, in the love. Oh, I love it. You got it and I want it, that love. But when you use money and use money beneficially, then money's a good thing. Money in itself is completely amoral. Somebody said, a great writer, I don't know who it was, Mark Twain or somebody, they said a statement, the pen is mightier than the sword. I forget who said it now. It's an ancient saying. You may have heard it. The pen is mightier than the sword. Now, this pen, okay, I could probably stab somebody at close range and kill them if I wanted to, and carotid artery maybe. But I don't think he meant it like that. But I could hold up a dollar note right here, and or $100 note. Or a Zimbabwe $100 trillion note, which I've got, I could hold that up, and that money's not going to change anybody's life ever, because that money is neither good nor bad. It's what the person that controls it does with it that is good or bad. This pen will not do a single thing unless I pick it up or someone picks it up and uses it to say something, and it can say something terribly destructive or terribly creative.
So okay, it's the intent of a person who use that energy. Because I take pen and money as an energy. It's a form of energy, and it's how we manipulate that energy with our thought, our action, our emotion, all of that. Yeah,
it's like
good
a road
one.
sign
That was a good one.
Trip.
That was a good one, Darryl. That was a good one that we share. I like that. I like that. Well, Darryl, thank you so much. I'm sure some listener would take something from this talk that you just shared, because I learned something from you, just earlier. You're a very wise man. Definitely, we're gonna discuss about the timing and see. Oh, but if you guys interested in timing, post comment. If you're interested, tell Darryl, hey, you want to hear about it? How you're gonna get into the right timing and to be successful and everything, because he's a very successful businessman, and he have traveled all around the world, and right now he's living, I mean, pretty comfortably in Thailand. Lucky you. So anyway, guys, post comment, post where you're listening from. I mean, if you're in Thailand, you can connect with Darryl. Why not? And Darryl, you got anything that you want to share with the audience?
Well, look, I'd like to share how blessed and privileged I feel to react and engage with you, Tina, and your audience. And I thank you for having the confidence to give me this space. I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
I have a website. I'll share it with you later if you want to. You can put it in the link. Sure. If people want to look me up and connect with me, that's fine. No pressure. And I hope we get to have some fun together again soon.
Beautiful. Well, my platform is also all about sharing with other people, allowing different speakers or different individuals to share their life experience. And if they can benefit to the listeners and they can learn something, we can learn from each other. You know, we are each other's teachers and students. And like what you said earlier about books, reading a book, and something else. One of the speaker mentioned that.
The people you meet.
Yes, and the people you meet. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. People you meet. Here you go, I met you. And reading a book. We're not reading a book, but what we're sharing through this YouTube. This is this generation now that we're just speaking and people get on all this, you know, podcast. Listening is the same thing as reading. And listening to YouTube is the same thing as reading. And we're learning. We're learning every day. And this is how we're growing. And this is how we feel alive. And this is how we ignite the ideas and the feeling. And we manifest something. It may not be material stuff, but you manifest the feeling, you manifest the growth within ourselves. And that's what counts, right?
Fabulous. Yeah, exactly. You're making a great contribution, Tina, and I believe that, you know, you're being the salt of the earth. You're changing the world for the better. You're making your contribution, and more people, as you said, are waking up, and as they step up and into their true selves, not their not selves that they've been educated in the system to be, not their not self, but their true self, then they begin to blossom like you, and you're an inspiration. Thank you for your
Thank you very
contribution.
much. And thank you guys for listening, for tuning in. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, click like, share my videos. And also, if you want to follow me, I'm on different podcasts like Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and a different platform. Please look under about me information underneath the description or on this YouTube. So with that said, thank you so much, guys, for listening in. Until the next video. Darryl, thank you so much. Khop kun ka. And maybe I'll see you in Thailand. Yes, guys, I'm going to be in Thailand in October. There you go. This is a gesture of respect in Thailand. I'm going to be in Thailand in October for 1 month. I'm going to be doing vlogs in Thailand, showing where I go, where I stay, where I eat. And I'll probably go to like many spiritual places as well. All right, until then, next video. Thank you so much. Bye, Darryl.
Bye, Tina. See you later.
See you later.